Hi, my name is Julie, and you are watching my channel, Julie on Books. On this channel, I'm going to read to you from different books that I find interesting, different excerpts and chapters. The first book that I'm going to talk to you today about is Introduction to Logic, the 6th edition by Irving M. Copi. So let's get started. This is chapter 1, the introduction. What is logic? Logic is the study of the methods and principles used to distinguish good, correct from bad, incorrect reasoning. This definition must not be taken to imply that only the student of logic can reason well or correctly. To say so would be as mistaken as to say that to run well requires studying the physics and physiology involved in that activity. Some excellent athletes are quite ignorant of the complex processes that go on inside their bodies when they perform. And needless to say, the somewhat elderly professors who know most about such things would perform very poorly were they to risk their dignity on the athletic field. Even given the same basic muscular and nervous apparatus, the person who knows might not surpass the natural athlete. But given the same native intelligence, a person who has studied logic is more likely to reason correctly than is one who has never thought about the general principles involved in our activity. There are several reasons for this. First, the proper study of logic will approach it as an art as well as a science, and the student will do exercises in all parts of the theory being learned. Here, as anywhere else, practice will help to make perfect. Second, a traditional part of the study of logic has been the examination and analysis of fallacies, which are common and often quite natural mistakes in reasoning. Not only does this part of the subject give increased insight into the principles of reasoning in general, but an acquaintance with these pitfalls helps to keep us from stumbling into them. Finally, the study of logic will give students techniques and methods for testing the correctness of many different kinds of reasoning, including their own. And when errors are easily detected, they are less likely to be allowed to stand. We are often moved by appeals to emotion, but an appeal to reason can be tested and appraised by criteria that define correct argument. If these criteria are not known, then they cannot be employed. It is the purpose of logic to discover and make available those criteria that can be used to rest arguments for correctness. Logic has frequently been defined as the science of the laws of thought. But this definition, although it gives a clue to the nature of logic, is not accurate. In the first place, thinking is studied by psychologists. Logic cannot be the science of the laws of thought because psychology is also a science which deals with laws of thought, among other things. And logic is not a branch of psychology. It is a separate and distinct field of study. In the second place, if thought refers to any process that occurs in a person's mind, not all thought is an object of study for the logician. All reasoning is thinking, but not all thinking is reasoning. Thus, one may think of a number between 1 and 10 as a parlor game, without doing any reasoning about it. There are many mental processes or kinds of thought that are different from reasoning. One may remember something, or imagine it, or regret it, without doing any reasoning about it. Or one may let one's thoughts drift along in a daydream or reverie, building castles in the air, or following what psychologists call free association, in which one image is replaced by another in an order that is anything but logical. There is often great significance to the sequence of thoughts in such free association, and some psychiatric techniques make use of it. One need not be a psychiatrist, of course, to gain insight into people's characters by observing the flow of their streams of consciousness. It is the basis of a very effective literary technique pioneered by James Joyce in his novel Ulysses. Conversely, if a person's character is sufficiently well known beforehand, the flow of that person's stream of consciousness can be traced or even anticipated. We all remember how Sherlock Holmes used to break in on his friend Watson's silences to answer the very question to which Dr. Watson had been led in his musings. There seem to be certain laws governing reverie, but they are studied by psychologists rather than logicians. The laws that describe the movements of the mind in reverie are psychological laws rather than logical principles. To define logic as the science of the laws of thought is to make it include too much. Another common definition of logic calls it the science of reasoning. This definition is better, but it still will not do. Reasoning is a special kind of thinking in which inference takes place, in which conclusions are drawn from premises. It is still a kind of thinking, however, and therefore still part of the psychologist's subject matter. As psychologists examine the reasoning process, they find it to be extremely complex, highly emotional, consisting of awkward trial and error procedures illuminated by sudden and sometimes apparently irrelevant flashes of insight. These are all of importance to psychology. The logician, however, is concerned primarily with the correctness of the completed process of reasoning. The question is always, does the conclusion reached follow from the premises used or assumed? Do the premises provide good reasons for accepting the conclusion? If the premises provide adequate grounds for affirming the conclusion, if asserting the premises to be true warrants asserting the conclusion to be true also, then the reasoning is correct. Otherwise, it is incorrect. The distinction between correct and incorrect reasoning is the central problem with which logic deals. The logician's methods and techniques have been developed primarily for the purpose of making this distinction clear. The logician is interested in all reasoning, regardless of its subject matter, but only from this special point of view. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Again, this was Chapter 1 in Introduction to Logic, the 6th edition by Irving M. Copi. I will see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.